The Cat's Whiskers podcast is proudly sponsored by the Bunkers Hill Hockley. Don't miss Panthers game day offers, including Coors Light at £2.50 a pint. It's 8:45pm on the 18th of April 2018. The sun's been shining, so of course it's time for a Cat's Whiskers podcast, and we're live. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Cat's Whiskers podcast. I know we said we was taking a break, but obviously lots has happened over the past few days, so it only seemed right to have a podcast to discuss everything that's been going on. So I'm delighted to welcome Peter Taylor.
Hiya.
Antoine Marie-Jeanne.
Good evening.
Adam Reddish.
Hello everyone.
And last but not least, he's been out in the sun and now he's shining like a conker. It's Aaron Lord.
A little bit rude, but yeah, good evening, everybody.
He's also ploughing through a McFlurry, so yeah.
Yes, I saw.
He's winning at life.
Other fast food are available.
Yes, I've seen the post on Facebook regarding your sort of out in the sunness today.
Face.
Tanned is probably pushing it a bit. I think glowing is. It's probably
he's not pregnant. He's not pregnant, Jono.
Well, yeah.
Some people would say I'm glowing 24/7, but
no, that's just your earring, pal.
Anyway, we got a lot to get through. Not least the fact that Richard Chernomaz is now the Panthers' new head coach. We'll be talking about that. Of course, we'll be looking at Patrick Galbraith, who has left to sign for his hometown team in Denmark. There's the Panthers' pre-season schedule to get through. The Edinburgh Capitals and more happening there. Jerry Andersson's comments about the Steelers in some Sheffield Star articles. Scot Pitt and Zack Fitzgerald returning to Braehead. And of course, Team GB start their World Championship campaign this Sunday. So lots to get through. But of course, the biggest news of the week is that Richard Chernomaz is revealed as the new Panthers head coach. 54-year-old Canadian comes to Panthers from Love and Frankfurt in Germany's DEL2. He spent the vast majority of his coaching career in the DEL and DEL2. He played 51 games in the NHL as well, and has also been a coach of Team Canada. So I'll go round you all in turn. So initial thoughts on the appointment, and as I can hear Aaron scoffing into his McFlurry, I think we'll start with Adam.
Oh, thank you. So you go from someone having a McFlurry to someone that's just finished a lozenge. I'll see how my ailing voice holds up. I'm happy with the appointment, to be honest. I said a few weeks ago after it was announced that Nielsen was leaving that I'd like to see somebody totally new to this country and totally new to British ice hockey appointed by the Panthers, and the Panthers have gone and done just that. So, fair play to them. I think it was probably needed for someone on the outside to come in, because I think anyone from this country, if it was a coach of another elite league team coming to this club, they would have really been in Corey's shadow. So I think that the new guy can come in. He doesn't really know a lot about the league, so he can form his own conclusions pretty quickly. And he'll have no sort of preconceived ideas about what's going on. And I'm sure he knows a bit about British ice hockey. He's probably seen Panthers and our involvement in the CHL last season, because I'm sure that's been discussed amongst the hockey fraternity on mainland Europe. But I think it's good. I think it's necessary to bring somebody in from outside that doesn't really have any baggage. His experience, which is good. I think fans would have been maybe a little bit alarmed if it was someone that wasn't lacking in experience. So this guy's been around the block many times. He's had a variety of different sort of positions within ice hockey. He's been head coach. He's been involved more on a GM side as well. So. I think he ticks all the boxes for me. He looks to be the sort of not the steady head, because I think that would be doing him a disservice. But he's got a very well-rounded view of hockey. Things that he said so far have been encouraging about wanting to, forge his own identity and, stamp his own authority on the team and the organisation. So he sounds like, he's his own man, which is good. My big fear was that, someone was going to be appointed that might have been a bit of a stooge, someone that could be controlled easily. I don't think this guy sort of fits that bill at all. He looks like he's his own man. He's very independent. Got a very good outlook on hockey and, vastly experienced, as you said there, Jono. So I think all in all, I'm quite happy about the appointment.
Okay, how do you feel?
Well, in his interview on the Panthers website, I thought he'd basically been listening to our podcast last week and ticking off all the things we were saying that we'd hope a new coach, the style of play a new coach would bring. It was certainly, encouraging that he likes to have a big, strong, fast team. I mean, it's something that I'm certainly keen on, and my initial fears are, though, like I said last week, is the officiating going to allow that sort of a team to compete? I mean, you look at his CV; it's quality. There's plenty of experience there. And obviously there's the interview in the Post this evening that Matt Davies has put together. He sort of goes on a bit more that...
Yeah, if anybody hasn't read that, I suggest to do it. It's a very, very good interview by Matt Davies, and I believe there's more to come later in the week.
That'll be... that's good, because obviously he talks about how, he noticed how well we'd done in the CHL, and I'd obviously been across... and was here at the playoff finals weekend and was impressed with the setup, and so it's all very promising. And I like the fact that he wants to take the Panthers basically to be almost a permanent fixture in the CHL, which is something we're crying out for, to be fair.
Okay, Tina, your thoughts?
Well, first of all, he ticks my box of being new to the league. Like Adam says, he sounds, very steadfast, and he knows what he wants. So chances are he ticks the second box of, I wanted somebody who's got balls. I wanted somebody who's, not physical balls, but metaphorical. I will do what I want with this team. This team is mine to create, and if it all goes wrong, on my head be it kind of attitude, and that's what he. That's what I get from him in the initial stages. He's making all the right noises, and as highlighted already, Matt Davies, his article is worth a read. He says there's more to come, but in that initial article, he spoke to Matt after speaking to Panthers players. After he said something like after a long day speaking to Panthers players. So he's already doing the groundwork, which. That's got to be a plus. That's absolutely got to be a plus. And like Ant says, the kind of team that I think we'd all like to see is the kind of team that he says he wants to put on the ice. So as it stands at the moment, what's not to like?
Excellent. So, Aaron, have you finished your McFlurry?
I think that's a no.
Oh, sorry. You see, I've been muted. I muted myself while I was munching. So my apologies there. Do you want to start that again, Jono? We'll just edit that one out. Carry on.
We will do. Aaron, your thoughts on the appointment of Rich Chernomaz?
#life problems.
Yeah. I can't. I echo sort of what most of the guys have been saying. Really, the only thing I would kind of say is where I differ. I think is the fact that, I think Adam and Tina said somebody completely new to the team, to the league. Now, I wouldn't have been that fussed if they had elite league experience. So, like, Dan Seaman was apparently, close to getting the job as well, and we obviously know that he's had experience. So I wouldn't have been that fussed, say, if he had been appointed. But obviously, we've gone with the fresh eyes, to the league. And look, I think it's obviously exciting. It's a new era. He's got a hell of a lot of experience, far more than anybody else that's coaching in the Elite League next season. And it's interesting. It's like what Ant said. I listened to the interview that he did, and I think Ant will agree with me here. I thought it was Corey Nielsen, because I think he sounds a hell of a lot like Corey. Yeah. But he said the right things to me, and I think I told you guys on our WhatsApp group, says the right things. It's exciting. He's obviously got a hell of a lot of ambition, like Ant said earlier. My only thing is, I hope that's backed. I hope he's backed up and that ambition is shared by really his two sort of bosses, really. And if it is, then I think we'll be in for a good ride over this season coming and beyond. If we're looking at this as a kind of, one season plus appointment. I like what he said about the type of play that he wants to bring. So it'll be interesting to kind of see as his recruitment starts and carries on through the summer, whether that does, end up being the team that we see on the ice come, end of August. But, it's exciting times, isn't it? It's a completely new bloke. And I think we've just got to give him the summer to see who he does sign and see if he can get his type of team in and see how he starts. Because my only thing with him being new to the league, you can watch the league and you can watch us in the CHL and stuff like that. But he's going to need, he's going to need a bit of bedding in time for me. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, but I don't think we can automatically just expect to see this fantastic, fast, solid, aggressive hockey from the end of August, really. But I'm intrigued to see what he does with the Brits if we re-sign our Brits, because I think that's where we'll kind of see the difference, because obviously our Brits have been coached by Corey for a long time now, and it'll be interesting to see whether we see any improvement, with the Brits that we do re-sign or if we sign some new ones.
I think I agree with most of what everybody else has said. I think the big thing for me is it is somebody completely new who's not known to the club, has no links to the club. And the last time we appointed a coach like that was Mike Ellis, who he's often forgot about. And Mike Ellis won consecutive trophies in consecutive seasons for the first time in the modern era for the Panthers. And I think a lot of people forget that. And then obviously Corey came in. We've had masses and masses of success under Corey Nielsen, and now we've got a new guy coming in, and it's his turn. But I do like what he said. I like that in the interview he said that more or less the priority was the league, and players have to understand that. I like the way that he says he trusts players, but they've got to earn that trust. I think that's really, really important. And I just like that it's somebody fresh, somebody we don't know. And I did see something on social media about, what about John Tripp? I mean, John Tripp went to Braehead. He had half a season in the DAL2 with a team that was bottom of the league. He had virtually no experience. You cannot question this guy's experience. He's got a huge amount in higher leagues than the EIHL. So that's a huge positive, a huge tick in the box for me. I think the main things are the people above him need to allow him to coach and not interfere. And I think he will be an excellent appointment. We've got to see how his team performs. We've got to see who he recruits. But he does need some sort of bedding in period. I think it's unfair to expect him to win the league, as soon as he steps off the plane. But and on that respect, I hope he's given at least a couple of seasons. But everything seems positive around it at the minute, and I must admit I'm really, really happy, to the point where I am probably almost certain to renew my season ticket now. No, because seriously, it was something I was thinking of. A month, 6 weeks ago, there was no way I was doing it. But I think things that have happened since, and with this guy coming in who has no baggage as such, I'm really intrigued to see what sort of team he puts out and how they perform. So,
breaking news, everybody! Jono is renewing his season ticket. You heard it here first.
I mean, hasn't somebody already got your seat?
Well, if he is, I'm not.
You've got till the end of the month, Jono, to keep your seat.
Well, the only thing is, I don't know how many games I'll make because of work, but there you go. There's a lot of people listening at the moment, so what do you think? Get in touch with us on Twitter, @CatsWhiskersTV. What do you think of the appointment? But going back to something that was said, he says he wanted to bring an offensive and aggressive team, and that seems to have gone down very, very well. I mean, Ant, I think you mentioned that.
Hell yeah. Like I said earlier and last week, I just hope that he doesn't fall foul of our officials. That's the only drawback. I mean, unfortunately, hockey is going in a different direction nowadays. It's more about skill and speed over strength, and unfortunately, that leads to plays that I'm not so keen on. Like your sticks and your dives and stuff like that. It's I just hope. I hope he's allowed to build a team in the image that he wants to, and we're allowed to play the game that we want to, because there ain't nothing wrong with a fair check against the boards, regardless of what a certain fan base up north think.
I mean, also the other thing that has really struck me is that his appointment, apart from one or two usual suspects, has appeared to be met with overwhelming positivity. I've seen very little negative reaction to his appointment from the Panthers fan base, and that can only be good.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think obviously, sorry, Adam. I think that's how important this decision was, really, wasn't it? It's it couldn't have been an easy one, I don't think, because there was a real danger that you'd split the fan base even further, or you'd certainly enforce some more cracks in the fan base, because I think that's kind of where a lot of our fan base was this season. You've just said it yourself right there, Jono, really. You wasn't going to renew your season ticket, but the fact that we've appointed this guy is now making you think that you will do. And if there's another 10 of you like that, then that's a big thing for the Panthers, isn't it, really? So I think that's how important this decision was. So the fact that it's kind of been met with pretty unanimous, thumbs up, can only mean positivity kind of throughout the summer and coming into August. But can I just quickly, before you move on to somebody else, go back to kind of what Ant was saying about the physicality, etc. If you look at the Cardiff team that's won the league, for the last 2 years, they have physical players, Justin Farina, Reddish, they've got other players that play the game the right way, but they play it with a physical edge. Now, obviously our coach has now said that he wants to play this aggressive, hockey, and we can talk about the refs for, not falling foul of the refs, but as long as his aggressive hockey team play fair, then the refs shouldn't really have to get involved. Refs should only really have to get involved if we do something that we're not meant to do, and that is illegal. So, I think there's still room in our league to play an aggressive, hard physical game.
I hope so.
And I don't think we should really even be talking about the refs in that instance, because it's yes, the leagues across Europe and in America are changing, but like you said, Ant, there is still room for a good physical check. So as long as you do it, in the laws of the game, then we shouldn't even really be talking about the refs. Yep. So I don't think we should really be saying that we hope he doesn't fall foul of the refs, and because he doesn't, understand that you can't do that nowadays, etc. Sod that. You recruit a physical, strong, forechecking team. That'll go fine in this league, because as long as you do it correctly. Again, go back to Cam. I think Cam could still walk back into this league and he still would, he wouldn't get more penalty minutes just because we've gone on a couple of seasons, because he did it the right way and he did it legally.
Yeah. Adam, did you want to come in there?
I think Aaron's probably covered what I was going to say. I was going to say that, the new coach, he's vastly experienced. He's obviously got a formula for recruiting sides and getting them to play a particular way out on the ice that works for him. And he'll be sensible enough. He'll be hockey clever enough to realise that what he wants to do, what he's told the media and the press so far, is allowable in British ice hockey, notwithstanding the fact that some referees might not tolerate a certain level of physicality. But are you really going to go to the lengths to recruit a roster that will fail because it's just going to end up sat in the penalty box en masse, and you'll have problems with discipline throughout the whole season? He won't do that. There is a balance to be struck, as Aaron said. You want your solid forecheckers, but you want to mesh that and blend that with the right amount of skill and finesse as well. And it can be done. Cardiff have set the blueprint, and they set the formula for how that's done over the last 2 seasons. And I think we're able to emulate that. Cardiff won't be top dog forever. We need to be biting at their heels, and I think the appointment's a really good one because it's going to create pressure on Cardiff, I think, to have a new coach come to the league, because all of a sudden you've got potentially a different style or one of the bigger teams in the league, playing a particular brand of hockey that might sort of out hockey Cardiff. So it'll be really fascinating to see how everything pans out with recruitment and who comes back, etc., etc. But I've got to say I'm quite excited about the roster that he'll be putting together, as long as it doesn't involve too many of the imports from this season.
Fair enough. Another thing that struck me was the fact that he was listed as a sports manager, which I assume is an equivalent to a general manager.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Could that cause a bit of a conflict, or is he being brought in to maybe be groomed for the GM role further down the line with another head coach coming in? Tina, what do you reckon to that?
I wouldn't read an awful lot into it. One of my favourite jokes of playoff final weekend was that for any fans of Futurama, Gary Moran's probably going to be general manager of this club, when his head's in a jar. So as I say, I don't feel like I can read too much into that, to be honest. I personally am taking it as read that he is a coach until something happens to indicate otherwise, other than just speculation. It's if he's got the knowledge and he's got the sense, then yeah, fine, fair enough. But we have already talked in the past about how the general manager's job has changed over the years within the Panthers, and how they've had to recruit extra people to take some of the jobs away that Gary was probably doing back in the day before social media took over, it increased paperwork, all the rest of the stuff that we don't know a darn thing about. But it's if he knows how to do the job of a sort of general manager, if you will, then perhaps that speaks to my second tick box, where if the general manager does try to interfere with the running of the team, then the coach might very well be well placed to say, I know what I'm talking about, go away, sort of thing. It could benefit him having that background, but I don't see it pointing towards anything right at the moment.
Okay, we shall leave that there then. Just All that remains to say is to welcome Richard Chernomaz to Nottingham, and we look forward to see what sort of team he recruits, and no doubt that will be starting in earnest very soon. However, a player who will not be returning is netminder Patrick Galbraith. He has left the Panthers to sign for Sønderjysk, his hometown team in Denmark, a 3-year contract where his brother also plays. Galbraith, great stats throughout the season. Probably ended the season as our number one goaltender, but I suppose home is where the heart is at the end of the day.
Yes, sorry, me. I want to come in on this one. I like Patrick Galbraith as a goaltender. I think he is very good. I think we upgraded on Zakarchenko. I don't think he would have been as good as Patrick Galbraith, quite frankly. So it's a bold statement, I know, but I think we got an upgrade. So yeah, thanks for your match fixing antics, mate. Because I'm really not fussed that we didn't see you. Anyway, yes, home is where the heart is, and if that is the danger of bringing in imports. They probably very much like their time while they're with us, but you can't ignore the call of home. I'm not horrendously upset by this because I think that with us not having any European hockey next season, that the domestic season is more than manageable with the netminders that we know are returning.
Okay. Anyone else want to come in on that, and Patrick Galbraith?
Well, I thought when we signed Galbraith, initially his stats jumped out. When we signed Zakarchenko at the beginning of the season, to me we had a clear hierarchy. Garnett was our number one, Zakarchenko and Gospel were going to be fighting out for number two. Galbraith came in, and it's like, you can't really call this guy number two. And he performed. He made some fantastic performances over the course of the season, and very best of luck to him in his new job.
Okay, anyone else?
No, I just want to sort of put on record our thanks for Galbraith. I think he was a good netminder. I agree about him being an upgrade on the Ukrainian netminder that was scheduled to come over. I think that, stats don't lie, do they? He was a very, very solid netminder. I always sort of felt at ease with him between the pipes. It's a shame that he didn't really have his best game in that semi-final match against Sheffield in the playoff finals weekend. But there you go. I think up till then, he was a very, very good netminder. Kept us in quite a few games and technically, very able. So, our loss is, his hometown team's game.
Yeah. Okay. We shall move on. Panthers announced their pre-season schedule earlier this week. That will have home games on the 11th, 18th, 19th, 25th and 26th of August, with an away game on the 12th. The full schedule is as follows. When I can get it up, there it is. So on the 11th of August, it's Cardiff Devils at home. 12th is the return fixture. On the 18th of August, take on Dresden Eisleben, and then on the 19th, Fishtown Penguins. They're both German teams. Stavanger Oilers of Norway are the visitors on the 25th of August, and the pre-season completes on the 26th of August with a visit from the Lyon Lions. I mean, that is a hefty pre-season schedule of 5 games at home, so it should be a good build-up to the new domestic season.
Yeah. Obviously starting off with that CHL, opponents, the Cardiff Devils. Apparently they're quite a good side, so it'll be interesting to watch them first off. I think it gives obviously the new coach, it gives him a good pre-season, doesn't it? Really, it gives him, along with obviously his training camps that he'll have. It should give him enough time to kind of understand who he's signed and what he can expect going into the new kind of Elite League campaign. So nice to see a few different teams as well, obviously, visiting the world famous NIC. I think it's just, for me, pre-season, it's just about fitness and it's about, trying to get a little bit of chemistry on the lines and hopefully pick up no injuries. So what is it? I think it's something like 110 days away, is it? Or something like that, I believe. So not long left, really. So save your pennies, boys and girls, for the tickets. But yeah, nice to see a few different teams, like I say, I think.
Yeah, I'm really sort of looking forward to it. As long as I'm not working, I hopefully get to a few of those. And it's good to see that we've got teams coming from overseas who are of a similar level or a little bit better for us to test ourselves against.
I think that's just... Sorry, go on, I'll let you go. No, I was just going to say, I think that shows you the experience that, you know, our new coach Rich has had in that we're going to have German teams, especially at the beginning, because I think he'll then be able to weigh up where his new team is against what he's used to seeing. So I think that's my kind of how I've taken it, that we'll face German opposition, because that'll give Rich a good marker. You know, it's very early marker, obviously, but of where his team is, and I think that will help him along the way as well. Ant, over to you.
I agree with Aaron.
Well, stop nicking my lines.
So it's only taken 35 minutes for somebody to say it. I mean, come on.
I mean, let's put it this way: those two German games back to back, there's got to be some kind of merchandising opportunity there for the Panthers. You know, a double ticket deal, something going on.
Well, yeah,
and obviously,
sorry.
Not only that, but
carry on.
Yeah, sorry. Not only that, but if you think about. Maybe. But if you think about what potentially could happen in and around the arena for that, I mean, back-to-back games doesn't happen, too often. We've just finished a lot of back-to-back games, and I'm still recovering. So, maybe a pre-season party type atmosphere going on. It's certainly
wear your lederhosen.
Yeah, definitely. A bit of a Oktoberfest in August. But I don't tend to go to pre-season because I'm sick of seeing a quarter of the team that I'm going to see throughout the season for full price ticket. Last season was the first time I've actually been, and I really enjoyed the game that we had. Who was it that we played? I've forgotten them already.
Krefeld Penguins.
That's the one. Yeah,
Penguins.
That was a belting game.
It was.
That was.
It was a fantastic game.
Brilliant.
And all but 2 or 3 of our players were in. That's the sort of pre-season that I want to see. And it was a decent price as well. It was something like a tenner for the ticket, wasn't it? So
yeah, this is the thing I want to bring up about the ticket, because you've got two weekends with back-to-back games, and then the game against Cardiff on the 12th. So 5 home games in 2 weeks. I want to see ticket deals for these games. And
just put it into perspective, the CHL games were £14.
Well, this is what I want to see. I want to see a £10, £5 ticket deal for all 5 of those home games. Because if you think about it, if those are charged at full price or near to full price, a family of 4 is looking at over £100 for 2 games in a weekend. That's a lot of money. £10, £5, you're probably going to get 5,000 people at each home game at that. And then if you offer another deal, if you buy all 5 home games for you get that a little bit cheaper.
Maybe like a pre-season season ticket sort of deal.
I appeal to the Panthers to really, really think about where you're putting your ticket prices for these ones, because you want people to turn out. People want to see their new team and the new players. Price it accordingly and let people have the chance to come and watch. And you never know, if they like what they see, then they might go and start buying full price tickets in the new season.
And merchandise.
And merchandise and programmes.
50-50 tickets.
Everything else that comes with it. I know we are the best attended club in the league, but there's still empty seats in that arena for most games. Let's get them filled. And I think this is a good chance to do it. So I would
be able to start doing podcasts. Webcast, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, but I must admit, I am really, really excited about the schedule and the teams they've got coming in. I think it's a cracking pre-season that we've got in store. And the other thing is, 3 weekends before the start of the domestic season, so we should be hitting the ground running when it does come to start the domestic season at the beginning of September. Anyway.
So we don't burn out in December, eh?
Don't even joke about it. I don't think I have to go through that again. I look at my stat spreadsheet and I just try to ignore December because it's just so depressing.
Okie dokie. Right, just one more Panthers related thing before we move on to the other news, and that's that we had the Cat's Whiskers Panthers fan survey again this year. It went live earlier today. We've had almost 200 responses so far, which is incredible in the first few hours since it went live. We got over 600 responses last year when we did the survey, so we really ask if you've got 5 minutes spare, if you can just take the time to fill it in. I'm not going to give you the web address because it's a Google Drive thing and it's quite long and you'll never remember it. So if you go to our various social media channels on Twitter, on Facebook, or if you go on our thread on the cage, you will find the link there. Click on the link, answer the questions. It would be great if we could get as many Panthers fans as possible to answer that survey, and we will be making the results available to the Panthers, just as we did last year once we have them all in and we have all the numbers crunched. So please take the time to fill it in if you can. Okay, moving on to other news, and the Edinburgh Capitals look to be on the brink as Murrayfield ice time contract is awarded to the new team, the Murrayfield Racers, which are backed by Tony Hand and David Hand. It looks to be a bit of a mess, guys. It seems that the Edinburgh Capitals will be no more as they have more ice time available at the Murrayfield rink. I mean, what are the general thoughts on all this?
Oh God, what a mess! What an absolute mess. I mean, I know we wanted change. I know we wanted the Caps to, have a serious, go away and have a serious think about what they're doing. But I don't think any of us kind of envisaged this. Really, I mean, it's going to be hard work for them because already they have probably annoyed a fair section of the Edinburgh Capitals hockey fraternity. I can well imagine there's going to be a few of them that don't want to go and see the Murrayfield Racers. I don't. Maybe there are some that used to watch the Murrayfield Racers and actually came round and decided to be Edinburgh Capitals fans. I don't know, but that's going to take some work. I mean, there's pros and cons both. Obviously, the cons are the fans who don't feel that they can be anything other than Edinburgh Capitals fans. Yeah, and 100% respect your right to that opinion. It's your team, and how you feel about your team is different for each and every person. So if you don't feel you can support any team that isn't the Edinburgh Capitals, and if it doesn't feel like the Edinburgh Capitals, then it's absolutely your right to not go to those games. It would be nice to see a sustainable hockey team in Edinburgh, and if the news reports are to be believed, the Hands have presented a sustainable business model to the Murrayfield ice rink, and that's what got them the contract. So if they can do something that is the Caps haven't really managed to do all that well, then fair play to them. And one thing that will come of it, if you can get a sustainable team running out of Edinburgh, then you've got a shot at a sustainable elite league, because you're only as strong as your weakest party. Mm-hmm. So there's pros and cons to both sides of it. I do feel for the Capitals fans, and especially those ones who absolutely have 100% decided that they want nothing to do with the Racers. You do what you've got to, but the Racers have got a lot of work to do, I think. And the first bit of work they have to do is convincing the Elite League that they should have the franchise. They should have a franchise in the league. I don't think that'll be too difficult, because if the Caps are going to fold, then we need them, frankly. If you're going to sustain the league as it sits at the moment, we need to have them on board. If the Caps are done, the races are in. I really honestly think it's that simple.
Have the Caps just got themselves to blame, though? I mean, look at last season. It was a disaster for them.
Yeah.
They only won 5 games. It seemed that the management just didn't care. For me, it feels like this has been coming, and I feel for the fans. I really, really do, because at the end of the day, it's the fans that suffer through all this.
Yeah.
But I think the management have got to take a lot of the blame, because this has been caused by what I feel is their incompetence. Yeah,
totally agree with that, Jono. I think, you mentioned the Edinburgh Capitals, and that is a name that is synonymous with failure, a miserable failure at that. They're not finishing a close last either. They're miles and miles adrift most seasons, and there's only so many seasons that surely that can be tolerated by a league before the rest of the people in the league, the other representatives, look at that organisation and say, come on, lift yourself up by the bootlaces. You've got to be doing better than that, because it's sort of a bit of a stain on the quality of the league, really. And I absolutely agree with you. The Capitals management, it's happened on their watch. They've been found wanting, and they've had the chance, they've had the opportunity to change things, and they have changed things from time to time to try and improve the team's fortunes, but it hasn't happened. And you just don't get an unlimited amount of chances at this. You could argue that ice hockey in Edinburgh is dying because of the crowds and the abject season that they've just had. Some of the crowds this season have been absolutely atrocious, down 400, 450, 500. You can't sustain elite league ice hockey, with imports playing on that sort of crowd and commercial income. So something has to change. And I do really, really feel sorry for the Edinburgh Capitals fans that, have effectively gone down with the ship if the Capitals lose the right to be the sort of franchise in Edinburgh. But on the other hand, it is exciting for people outside of Edinburgh that don't have, the strong affiliation to that team to think about the prospect of a strong Edinburgh organisation who are, going to be challenging and competitive from season to season. And I'm sure that, yes, there will be a number of fans that are upset that it potentially looks like the Capitals' name might be lost from the Elite League. But, they might just have to, weigh up the pros and cons and say, well, what do we want to do? Do we want to go along and watch our team, get beaten 7-8-1 every week on a Sunday night, or do we want to actually go and watch a team that's competitive, that can, live with the likes of, well, certainly their conference rivals? I think asking them to maybe, compete with the likes of us, Sheffield, Belfast, Cardiff's asking a bit too much, but, they just need to step up their performance, and they don't have the finance or the sort of clout at the moment to be able to do that, unfortunately. I know that at the tail end of last season, the Caps announced that they were restructuring their management organisation, but some might argue that that's just changing or repositioning the deck chairs on the deck of the Titanic, because as far as I could see, there was no fresh finance being brought in from the outside, and that it was a case of, well, we're just bringing more people in, more fan representation in, which is no bad thing. But there was no major income and no major finance that was being brought in to really change that organisation's fortunes. And it may well be that we have to go down the Murrayfield Racers route and a new franchise being awarded to the hands to really drive that upturn in fortunes for Edinburgh as a nice hockey city, because I think an Edinburgh organisation needs to be part of top level ice hockey in this country, and it appears that Scott Neal just cannot deliver that. So if you can't deliver that, you have to think about stepping aside and letting somebody else have a crack at it.
Yeah, and I'm sure this will run, and obviously it's not a done deal that the Murrayfield Racers will be in the Elite League next season. They have applied to join, and the Elite League released a statement saying that is being looked at. So I'm sure that is going to run over the next couple of months. So
sorry, Jono, can I just pick up on something Tina said?
Yeah.
About the fan base. I think we had all this when Manchester Storm were announced as returning. You had all the Phoenix fans up in arms and saying, well, we're the successors to the Manchester Storm, yada, yada, yada. But then look at what has happened there. In fact, that they brought back old Storm fans and they've developed a new fan base. And on top of that, I guarantee there'll be Manchester Phoenix fans in there that have gone along and watched the team. So, yes, it is a bit of a naughty way that the hands have come about getting the ice time contract. You could say it's a bit underhand, pun intended. And I'm not
You're
overly
a bad
keen
man,
on
Antoine. You're a bad man.
I know. I'm not overly keen on the way they've done it, but it is, for me, it is exactly what that team needs. It needed a proper kick up the backside, because I'm sick and tired of basically having 9 or 11 teams and the Edinburgh Capitals who capitulate every season. They never finish the season with a full import quota, and I'm not a fan of the Capitals, so God knows what it must be to be a Capitals fan. You must be made of some stern stuff, because I don't know if I could have put up with it.
Okay, we're going to move on. And Jerry Andersson, who was released from the Sheffield Steelers as assistant coach, has made some damning comments about the Steelers locker room in 2 Sheffield Star articles this week. Now, we did have a tweet before we went on air from Robert Mansell, who is a Steelers fan. He just says, it backed up what most people were saying before Christmas, but we were told we knew nothing as we had never played hockey, so didn't understand by a certain person. Turned out it was all true. And I had a quick read of Steel Talk, and that was being brought up very much, the fact that everything the fans were saying was what was happening as revealed by Jerry Andersson. But yeah, Aaron, he's delivered one hell of a pipe bomb to the Sheffield Steelers there.
Yeah, I mean, I've read the articles, but maybe Jerry Andersson didn't know what he was talking about either, and it was just, by that one person, and he's the Messiah, and everybody else, including Jerry Andersson, hasn't got a clue what they're on about. But, no, I mean, do you know what? The thing is, I read those articles, and they didn't surprise me.
No.
I wasn't shocked that, the assistant coach from the Sheffield Steelers is now in the local newspaper telling everybody what was wrong with the team that he was with 3 days ago. I just wasn't shocked by that. And it boggles my mind sometimes, which sometimes, I'll admit is not very difficult to do. But that's just okay. The club thinks it's okay because they'll work with that reporter again, come the season. But hang on a minute, I'm thinking, well, that don't really look great, does it? That your assistant coach that you've just had for the last 2 years and you've thanked and you've said, has helped the club become more from a team to a club. And he's now gone and said, oh, well, we didn't have enough, players that were willing to look in the mirror and have a word with themselves and this, that and the other. And I've said this on I think many podcasts over the years that we've done this, and even properly going back to when we did the YouTube show, that I'll admit there are some things that Sheffield do that I'm envious of, and think we should be on that level, or if not even better. But things like this, just makes me glad that we don't have these articles, or we don't kind of have this type of press from the Panthers really that often, if at all, really, because I just don't get it. I don't know. It doesn't kind of sit well with me in a way, and I just think it makes me think, well, you were to be fair to him, he was the assistant coach, so if he knew all this, why didn't he try and change it anyway? Because, he's the second in command, behind Tomo, and they're going to be best buds from their time, from Tomo's time in Europe, etc. So why, if he knew all this, why didn't he try and change it or try and influence it better. It seems very much like, well, I've left now, so I'm going to tell everybody what was wrong with it because I'm not involved anymore, and kind of sit back and say none of it was my fault. When really he was, like I say, the assistant coach.
So he's got to take some responsibility.
He's got to take some responsibility, and he's in Tomo's, right. He's Tomo's right-hand man in his ear all the time. He should have, said we need to get rid of some of these players that weren't willing to, stand up for the team or weren't willing to, put the hard graft in, etc. It seems very much like he just kind of wasn't that person. But like I say, the main thing from it all is it didn't shock me.
From looking at it, the only thing I can think of is there seems to be a very, very toxic atmosphere around Sheffield at the minute. And I know they do go into a bit of a meltdown when they don't win anything. I mean, they have high expectations, as we all do. But there just seems to be a very unhappy camp behind the scenes, because a lot of these stories are coming out. When Irving Mustakovs left, he went to the press and said he was strung along. He was led to believe he was coming back next season, and then he was one of the players released. So it does seem to be a very unhappy camp at the minute.
Well, it's changing though, isn't it? I think obviously, just very quickly, getting rid of Mustakovs, getting rid of Fitzgerald, two big characters within the Steelers organisation. Now the assistant coach is gone, which for me was when they appointed him, it signalled the fact that they were kind of back in Tomo's theory of this Scandinavian kind of way of playing hockey is the future for the elite league, which I believe is absolute tosh. This league is based mainly on North American style hockey, and for me, it will always be that. Yes, like your Lindhagens for us, they come in and they are an asset to our league, but they're not taking over our league. And I think it's pressure. It hasn't worked, and this is a big off-season for them, isn't it? And they've made some bold decisions, I think, like we said on the last podcast. And since then, obviously, Jerry Andersson's left, but I think it's a big summer. It's a big summer for Tomo. It's a big summer for the Steelers. We've got a bit of, kind of swept the carpet clean, etc. We've got a new fresh sense of belief and a new direction that we're going in. And I think, they're putting their eggs in Tomo's basket, aren't they? And saying to him, go out there and reinvent the Sheffield Steelers ready for next season. So it'll be interesting because, like you say, Jono, a lot of the fan base, and I don't go on Steel Talk, but like on the last podcast we talked about it, you speak to them at playoff weekend and they're not happy. They weren't bothered. They don't like the style of hockey that they were playing, etc. They just were turning up for the crack, etc. And that's not really Steelers, is it? I mean, you're married to one. They expect to win. They expect to be challenging for every trophy, as we do, like you said. But it's a big summer for them, a big summer, and a big one for Tomo.
And anyone else want to come in on that? Because it does now put an awful lot of pressure on Paul Thompson.
Oh, it does. I mean, now that his right-hand man and his loyal sort of assistant's gone, of his own sort of choosing, then there is no one else around to blame now for Tomo. If it doesn't start well for him next season, then there's going to be almost unbearable pressure from the fan base towards him, but also towards the ownership of that organisation to make the coaching change. So I would say that, given what we've heard from Andersson in his articles in the Sheffield Star, can Thompson sort of miraculously recover that team ethic and that chemistry behind the locker room door? I know that he's moved on lots of players, and I dare say there'll be a lot of new players that sign for the Steelers over the course of the summer. But that sort of chemistry is really important in a hockey locker room, and things like what Andersson said will travel around the hockey world, won't they? That you've got a head coach there, and a lot of that stuff happened directly under his watch. So might that be a bit of a factor or an influential sort of decision in whether a player actually goes to sign for that club? who knows? Sheffield will always have sort of gravitas because of what they've won, and they have, won a hell of a lot over the course of their existence. But it's all about the head coach for me. Do you as a player want to go and sign for a head coach where you know that there are very recent problems of locker room unrest? I suspect that, most would probably try and shy away from that unless they're offered an absolute king's ransom to go and play for that club. So, yeah, I think that the pressure is still, building on Thompson, even though the hockey's finished now.
Yeah, sorry, can I just jump in? One thing I will say is that the disappointing season that the Steelers have had, I think they initially, as it is at the moment, they've done exactly the right thing by releasing a lot of players, because where the hell are you going to get by re-signing all of those people again? You're not going to get anywhere. So they have done the right thing by and it is a statement. However, if they go ahead and sign a whole load of new players who are supposedly bang on and top notch, and they still come out of next season with nothing, that I think is I don't even think that being Dave Sims' best mate is going to save Tomo. I can't see, if you have a full scale clear out and you still underachieve, which let's face it, anything less than winning a trophy, normally the league trophy, that's not good enough for them, because they've put themselves on such a pedestal. The organisation has put themselves on such a pedestal for the fans that they have to overachieve, or they have to achieve. They can't, underachieving is just not tolerated. So if they go another season having had a full scale clear out and they still come out with nothing, I think that's game over, personally. As it is, Tomo in.
Tomo in.
Well, one of the players that was released by the Sheffield Steelers, Zack Fitzgerald, has returned to Braehead along with Scot Pitt, who has rejoined from the Manchester Storm. So Peter Russell making a strong start to recruitment, and there was quite a bit of negativity about his appointment from the Braehead fans, but he needs to build a team that's going to compete, because they were another team that had a very, very poor season.
Oh, Jono, you're understating that. Every Clan fan I spoke to at playoff final weekend was furious. And we were all busy having a good giggle. Just like, yeah, he's all yours. Off you go. But yeah, it's a quick start. One thing the Braehead fans should be pleased with is that they're not making signings blind, ready for the coach to just come in and go, right, who the hell are you guys? The coach is there. The coach is making signings that he wants. And, if the coach comes out of it at the other end with nothing, then it's on the coach's head. You can't fully blame John Tripp for the season that he had. He was inexperienced. He probably didn't sign the team he wanted to sign. So, I personally would want to give him a little bit of wiggle room on that. But Peter Russell is in now. He is doing the team his way. So it's all on him. So he's got to make sure that he gets it right.
Okay. Anyone else with any thoughts on those two appointments for Braehead?
I just think Pete Russell's a good fit for the Clan. I don't really get the whole kind of like, and it seems like, as Tina kind of just described, but it's like 99% negativity about it, and I don't really get that. I think it's people are going, we've replaced the 9th team coach with an 11th team coach, whereas that's short-sightedness to me. I think Pete Russell is a good fit. And, Scot Pitt, very, very good signing early on, guaranteed to get them points. Zack Fitzgerald kind of fits the mould of the type of player that I can see Pete Russell wanting in his team. Already announced as captain, there you go, bang, that's the type of team we're going to have. I can personally see Pete Russell working at the Clan. I can see him delivering a trophy. That might be a conference trophy, but it's, that's something that they would want to win again. So I don't, I can kind of see it. I can see it working, and I think they're two kind of, they're two crowd pleasers in a way, aren't they? I think I've seen a little bit of negativity about Fitzgerald. I think people saying that he's sort of past it, and I do think he's on the decline. But I think he works well for what the Clan are looking for at the moment. Get a bit of identity back, get a bit of that kind of blue collar hockey back up into Glasgow. But just in general, I don't really see the whole negativity regarding Pete Russell's appointment and stuff. So it's a bit of a weird one for me. I think he'll deliver success to the Clan. I really do.
Okay. We're going to finish with Team GB. They start their World Championship campaign in Hungary on Sunday. But they have been dealt a big blow, as in the warm-up games against Lithuania at the weekend. Evan Mosey has to withdraw through injury. We got a bit of an appeal regarding Evan Mosey. His dad, Graham, got in touch with us earlier today. Evan is coming out of hospital tomorrow, I believe, and coming back to Nottingham. And is there anyone who has a lightweight wheelchair that they can lend to Evan while he recovers from his injury? If there is anyone out there who does have anything like that, or even a mobility scooter that he can get around in, please get in touch with us through our various social media channels, so on Twitter or Facebook, and we will put you in touch with Evan and his dad Graham to sort it out. So just an appeal from us that Graham sent to us earlier today. So I hope someone can help if they can. But Mosey withdrawing from the squad, that's a huge blow for Team GB.
Of course it is. He brings something different to the team, and that's why he was selected in the first place. I suspect that Evan Mosey's loss is Ollie Bettridge's gain. I could be wrong. It could be somebody else that's sort of taken that benefit. But it's. I don't mind the inclusion of the non-Brit Brits, as it were. That doesn't bother me. I think it creates some competition. I mean, Pellini is in there, albeit he qualifies as a Brit, but he wasn't. After go through the ranks, junior ranks in Guildford, he's essentially import trained, but. That's a massive plus as well. Obviously, yeah. I think. Well, we know what GB would have been getting with Evan Mosey. We've been watching him for a very long time. It feels like it because it's a while since we've. It just feels like a while since we've had a team without Evan Mosey in it. So. And it would have been nice for him to be able to go. Obviously, he would have wanted to go, but as it is, he's stuck in a wheelchair with a pot on, so he's going to have to sit it out, be very impatient, and work doubly hard in the summer to get himself rehabilitated and back ready for the new season.
Okay. Anyone else want to come in on Team GB? Are you looking forward to it?
I would be if Virgin would pull the finger out and get Free Sports on there.
Well, the schedule is that on Sunday, Great Britain take on Slovenia 11:30 a.m. Tuesday, Kazakhstan at 3 p.m. Wednesday, Poland at 3 p.m. Friday, Italy at 6:30 p.m. and Saturday, hosts Hungary also at 6:30 p.m. All games will be live with Murph and Ady on Free Sports, so you will be able to watch them. And of course, Ollie Bettridge, Robert Farmer, Rob Blakovich, Steve Lee and Brett Pellini all are in the squad for Great Britain, so it'll be interesting to see.
It's going to be tough for them, isn't it?
They are the 6 seeds out of 6, having obviously got promoted from Division 1B last season. So it's. I think
anything other than relegation would probably be seen as a success.
I think if they can stay up, consolidate in that division, and then they'll know what to expect next season. And I think that will probably be a success, like you say. A medal, it'd probably be on them, but the Great Britain under-18s got gold from being 5th seeds recently, so it can be done. So we wish them all the very best.
I can see us getting a bronze. if I'm honest. Yeah, I
think that's a tough ask.
Somebody's confident.
It's a good squad that they've got. My only concern is at the back. Obviously, Bouncy is a good netminder, but he can have games where he goes to sea, and I can't see much backing him up after that. And obviously, missing Mosey is a big blow, but I decent squad there. It's a good group of players. Don't count him, but I can see us getting a bronze.
Okay. Has anybody got anything else?
No.
We shall leave it there.
Winton's died.
Well, it's not really hockey related, to be fair, but
No.
of course he did used to be a DJ on Radio Trent back in the day, so
He did.
yeah, that's very sad news. Big thank you to Richard Wakeman. He says, I would like to say love the podcast and really can't wait to see the new buzz around the arena, and neither can we, Richard. Very much looking forward to next season now with this news. So all that remains to be said for this evening is to say thank you very much to Antoine Marie-Jeanne.
Not a problem. Take care.
Aaron Lord.
When you're at the supermarket and you hear the beep.
Oh, the Lord.
Tina Taylor.
TTFN.
And Adam Reddish.
Good night, everyone.
We will be back sometime in May with another one of our off-season podcasts that hopefully we'll have some signings to discuss by then. But thank you very much for listening, and good night.